Arrow Season 6, Episode 5, Dethstroke Returns. This was actually a really cool episode. We got some insane action, especially the scene with Slade going through at the end of the episode was one of the best action sequences we've had this season. And it wasn't one of those like super epic ones where it's like, oh, the choreography is so great. It was great because it was like the perfect like comic book action sequence where it was super over the top, where he just runs in and he was killing people like he still had super strength. Like he was killing people like the Mirakuru was at its peak performance, where he could like just bend steel if he wanted to. He was running through, taking everybody down, and it was an insane sequence. And it was just like, this is super awesome. And it was like that perfect level of comic book action where he's doing some stuff where I'm like, shouldn't be able to do that. He's just running through, blocking stuff, like, you know, they're shooting at him and stuff, and he's got, you know, the metal so it's reflecting, and for whatever reason, he, like, put the katana up in front of him. I'm like, that wouldn't really do that much. But, man, it was great the whole way through, and he's just, like, kicking people. Like, I think he stabbed and kicked, he did, like, the Spartan, you know, this is Spartan kick, like, 3 or 4 different times, which I guess is fairly appropriate, because he was in Spartacus. But it was just nuts. I was like, this is actually super cool. It was a great action sequence. But the episode itself, I thought was actually really well done. Of course, the actual Slade storyline, Oliver helping Slade out, and Slade looking for his son. The flashbacks in this episode are actually related to Slade and him going on this trip, which I think will continue into tonight's episode, actually, because the scene where he kills the guy, I thought they were going to show that his son, you know, saw him, you know, kill the guy. And I think the reason they didn't show that was because this episode tonight is actually going to be the continuation of those flashbacks where his son is like reliving those memories. It's probably supposed to be like this epic reveal, but I thought it was insanely obvious. And this harkens back to something I've mentioned. Actually, it's perfect because I mentioned it with Arrow, and then I also mentioned it because they do it in Flash. People taking their masks off. He killed this dude. The first thing Slade did was just take his mask off, and then he looked around to make sure nobody was there. I was like, maybe I did hear something. And it's like, but you took your mask off first. So, of course, that's how his son is going to know, oh, my dad was a killer, and like that's why I became this person. And it's like, man, just leave the mask on. He would have just thought it was some weird dude in an orange and black mask. It's so simple. But hey, that's what he did. It was super dumb, but that's what they always do. They take off their mask, and it's like, I'm tired or something dumb, and the mask just comes right off instantly, and then you check for the noise to see if somebody was there. It's like, well, that's definitely backwards, but I feel like that's what's going to happen in the next episode. Is going to be revealed in either another flashback or just his son is going to be like, you know, the moment that set me down on this path was when we went on that camping trip, because I saw you kill that guy, and that's when I knew who you truly were. And I'm like, that's super obvious that that's what's going to happen, and I don't mind that, but that's what's going to happen. Like, you know, that's what's going to happen. Like, if that's not the case, I would be insanely shocked, excuse me, if we don't find out in the next episode that his son reveals he saw him kill that guy. Because that's what distracted him. Like, he heard something snap, and then he looked to the side, and then the guy was about to fight back, so he just slit his throat. And I was like, alright, I got my answer. And he slit his throat. And then, you know, like I said, he takes off the mask, and then he looks to make sure nobody was there. And then, you know, that's the end of the flashback. And then we see him leave with his son. And he's like, you know, did you have a good time? And his son's kind of just like, yeah. And something seems different. And I was like, yeah, it's because he definitely saw him kill that guy. So that's definitely going to come up in the next episode. It's going to be like this crazy moment for Slade where it's like, he saw me commit that murder. And that's going to, you know, that was the moment that changed him. Even though he knows that him being the person that he is set his son on that path. It's going to be like, oh man, it was at that point that he knew I was Dethstroke. So I just thought, you know, it was definitely great to see that story and Oliver trying to help him out, and finding out that Slade's son was actually the leader of this group, you know, by the end of the episode, I thought was pretty cool. And he's trying to lead Slade, at least based on the promo, he's trying to lead him towards revenge, kind of leading him back towards the villain side, where it's like, Oliver needs to repay the debt that he owes you by, you know, having wounded you, so you need to wound him. So he's kind of in this weird position in the next episode, and I'm excited to see how that plays out for Slade, because he's become, you know, more of a good guy, I guess. He's not like crazy Dethstroke Slade anymore. So it's just like, alright, well, where do we go from here? Like, what is going to happen? Is he going to choose his son, or is he going to choose... it's not even choosing between his son and Oliver. It's really choosing between his son, who is now almost the old version of him and the current version of him. So he kind of has to choose between two different versions of himself and which one, he wants to be kind of forever. So that should be interesting in the next episode. I'm excited for that. And then the other half of this episode also happened to deal with the emotional relationship between two characters, because Vigilante comes back and we find out that Vigilante is actually Dinah's old partner, who was supposed to be dead because he got shot in the head, and then the wave hitting him actually, I guess it saved his life. I shouldn't say it made him immortal, but it definitely saved his life. He does only have one eye, but he's shot in the head by the end of the episode, and he doesn't die from that. It does wound him though, and that was one thing I noticed. I was like, it wasn't that he took the hit and pretended to like die or anything. He took the hit and he had to take the bullet out, so it still hurts him. But his body's much tougher, but he can still be killed. Like, if there's enough of an impact, it will still kill him. But I thought that was very interesting. I was like, well, that's a cool way to bring in, kind of add to the character of Vigilante, because they already did a great job with that before, with the whole mystery of Chase and everything, where it's like, oh, he's totally Vigilante because of how he snaps and stuff. And then it's like, no, Vigilante was actually somebody totally different, and the main villain was actually Chase. So, bringing Vigilante back I thought was great. And then it was a simple way to do it where, he comes in and people are like, oh, him killing this woman who's trying to go against the Vigilante, basically the whole Vigilante system, is like, that'll make her a martyr. And he was like, for him it didn't matter because he mentions that she's corrupt. And he was like, yeah, but it would be one less corrupt, politician or whatever. And I was like, all right, so what's her deal? That's what it made me wonder. It's like, all right, because he does only go after people that are legitimately guilty, and he'll fight back, which is probably a huge part of why he never actually killed anybody. When he was fighting against Team Arrow, he never actually killed any of them. It was probably because it's like, hey, you might be against me, but we are technically still on the same side. So I think that means he does actually have something on that woman that may or may not come up later. But the fact that he was going after her, I was like, okay, he doesn't, because I was wondering, I was like, did he suddenly change his ways where he's trying to kill this woman because she's trying to get rid of vigilantes? But then it's like, no, it's still the corrupt politician thing where it's like, she has some dirt. This just happens to be the perfect time to do it because now she's trying to get rid of all vigilantes, but she is also corrupt still. So with them kind of putting that into this episode, it's kind of just like it's like just a little point to be like, all right, stick a pin in that, because that could come back later when it gets to the actual vote within the city. And maybe the team will utilize that to show how corrupt she is, to be like, well, if she's this corrupt, of course she doesn't want vigilantes around. So I feel like that's why they talked about that, because it's Vigilante. That's what he does, is get rid of corrupt people, even if they aren't like actual criminals. Like he does the Punisher thing pretty much. Is like, if you're evil in any regard, you die, and that's pretty much it. So I feel like them having him try to kill her will be something that comes up later in the season when it gets down to voting for the vigilantes or voting against vigilantes. They will find that secret that Vigilante already knew about, where it's like, oh, this is why he was trying to kill her, because she's this corrupt. And then they just might utilize that. I don't know if they'll go that far just to succeed, to be like, hey, look how crappy she is, don't vote against vigilantes, because the only reason she wants that is so she can't be busted. But I feel like they put that seed in there to be like, yeah, we can totally pull that out later, and then Felicity can just be like, boom, send it to the internet or something like that, and that's how they ultimately end up succeeding and having vigilantes within the city. But something I wanted to mention, that's just a little theory that I had, because I was like, he didn't really do much as far as explain why she was corrupt or anything like that. It was just, no, I'm not doing this to make her a martyr, and I'm not doing this because she's going after vigilantes. I'm still doing my thing. Corrupt people get killed, but they don't touch on why she's corrupt in any way, shape, or form. So I'm like, they can talk about that later, and then that'll destroy her when it comes to the voting, and people will be like, well, she sucks, so I'm going to vote against her. And I think that's why they kind of have the little line in there that she's corrupt, and it's still Vigilante doing his kind of a little corruption warpath sort of deal. But it was definitely great, the relationship that Vigilante and Dinah have, where they have to really reconnect, and she has to try to figure out what to do with him, because she thought he was dead, and he pretended to be dead for years, for 4 years, I believe they said. So it's a crazy experience for her to be like, you were actually still alive, and now you go around killing people as Vigilante, and you don't kind of trust what we used to do, as cops. And so she has to deal with that. She has to wonder if he's there at all anymore because of the fact that he kills people now. So she's kind of going like completely against him, whereas like, if there's not a part of him in there, I'm just going to kill him, and that's all there is to it. And Diggle's trying to help her out, like, hey, you might not want to just rush into he's not there at all. There might be a part of him still there that you care about, and you're allowed to care about him even now, despite, the absolute madness that's kind of just hit you right in the face when it's revealed that that's your ex-boyfriend slash ex, partner. So Diggle was trying to help her out, and ultimately in the end she does realize that she kind of has to let him go. Like, there's still a part of him in there. And then they kind of bring up the Matchbox thing where he would like make little stuff, and he leaves her like a little bouquet of roses out of matchboxes. So I thought that was pretty cool, and she realizes that there is still a part of him there. Unfortunately, as she was realizing that as Black Canary, the FBI agent that is investigating the entire team realized the cardinal rule of all superheroes: you just disappeared, and then this person showed up. So she brought that up like the most obvious thing in every superhero universe. And now she's just getting closer and closer. And I really don't know what that means as far as her investigating the team. And she was really going through the team in this episode. Like, she went through pretty much everyone except for Curtis. Like, she talked with Diggle. She talked with Felicity for like half a second because Felicity was being super obvious. Like, oh, I have to do something. As soon as she got in there. And so she leaves. She talked with Dinah for a minute. And then she gave a subpoena for questioning Renee. So she's like kind of really scoping through the team, and it's just like, man, she is getting so drastically close. I don't know what in the world they could possibly do to get past this woman that is not gonna kind of out them. Like, they would have to do something insanely drastic for her to find out who they are and still not say anything, because she's going super hardcore trying to figure out the truth. And she basically knows the truth, and it's just like, I can't prove it. It's just like, I think a lot of things, but I only go after what I can prove. So she's just getting closer and closer. It's like all this little stuff keeps happening, and I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to end up playing out, but I like her character. It adds a lot of tension because it's just like, how are they going to get out of this situation? This is, once again, the second time that Oliver had to go through that. And then it's like, okay, Oliver's got some great alibis here and there. He's got Felicity. He's got a son. And now there's another person. Next person makes sense would be Diggle. He's been there the longest. Makes sense that he would kind of take over while the heat's still on. So I need to figure this out. And now I'm at this event where, Dinah disappears and then the Black Canary shows up. So she's getting close. She knows what's up. So it's just like, how is this going to play out? I don't know. But I'm enjoying her character. Every time she comes around, I'm just waiting for one of the team members to basically screw up, because I'm like, I feel like something's going to happen. Something has to happen. So I just don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely exciting. I can say that in the least. Like, it's just fun to actually see that element where it's not the supervillain threat. It's just the legal threat that technically you're not supposed to be a vigilante, and now you have the FBI on your case, and this woman is not giving up. She is not giving up at all. So love seeing a character come in, because it oddly adds tension, even though it's one of those situations where, of course, we know everyone's going to get out of everything because they're the good guys. But this is one of those little things where it's like, it's not there every single episode, but it's just like, when it comes in, it's oddly relevant. It's just like, that could be bad. That might be really bad this episode. Somebody might say something, or somebody might not be able to get to a certain place, or pretend to be in two places at once even, and she'll have that little bit of evidence, and then it's on everybody at that point. So I really don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. And in general, like I said, I thought this was actually a really good episode. I was surprised that it was kind of going into a part 2. I thought everything was going to be all said and done for Slade's storyline. So I am very curious what's going to happen in the next episode, if they're going to continue basically both storylines, where the FBI thing is still a big part of the next episode too. But Slade and Oliver are going to be dealing with his son, so there will have to be some other side storyline. It could be another random villain, or it could still be the FBI thing. And I kind of hope it is the FBI thing. I think these 2 episodes, if they have like the same storylines kind of going throughout, I think they make for a good pair of episodes. Because this one I thought was great. I thought the balance was good between both halves of the story. Slade's story was really awesome. Of course, that led to some great action. And then the other half was the emotional story of Dinah and Vigilante. Plus, they're dealing with the whole FBI thing. And even if Vigilante isn't in the next episode and they continue that emotional side, the FBI stuff with the tension and that one little clue, leading her to discovering the truth about the whole team, if that's in the next episode, then that could easily be the other half, to Slade's storyline. So really looking forward to the next one, of course. I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. And I actually want to know what you guys thought about the reveal that Vigilante was actually Dinah's old partner, and what you guys think that means for the future of Dinah as a character, as well as Vigilante as a character. Like him, still being the man that he once was, just, a bit harsher. I think that could have an impact, especially with this whole Vigilante thing coming up, with whether or not Vigilantes will be outlawed, completely outlawed and really cracked down on. So I would love to know your theories on how that's going to impact her character and how that'll impact the series in general, because of course that's her character, impacts the rest of the team. Him as a character, even though he pops up every once in a while, he's a pretty important factor, especially now that he has that connection to Dinah, so that can impact her. And like, I don't want to hurt him too much and stuff like that. This is a man I used to love, so things like that. I would love to know your theories on how that will ultimately impact the story in the future. And of course, just want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.